This is a Fox News alert. I'm Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. It's now only a matter of time before the government shutdown is over, probably later this week. Tonight, the Senate broke a filibuster on a new GOP spending package, which will end the shutdown. The vote was 60-40. The Senate needed all 60 of those yeas to break the filibuster. 52 Republicans and 8 Democrats teamed up to greenlight the bill. Rand Paul of Kentucky was the lone GOP no. The bill funds the government through late January. 3 other parts of the government are funded through September. Most Democrats held out for a deal to offset spiking health care costs, but they never got anything ironclad. The Senate likely passes the bill later this week. Then it's on to the House, so the shutdown runs at least a few more days.
Well. It appears that after 40 days of political theater, temper tantrums, and pissing and moaning on TikTok, the Democrats, yes, those same Democrats who vowed to never reopen the government unless their little spoiled wish list of demands were met, have folded like a cheap lawn chair. What does that mean for the Democratic Party, the GOP, and the American people overall? All that and more. Let's get into it.
And yet tonight, what this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. So let's be clear what this vote is about. If this vote succeeds, over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling.
Chuck, you missed a spot.
Let's get to that a bit, baby. Say,
So, as you may have heard, the Schumer shutdown may officially be coming to an end, the longest shutdown in American history. And let's be honest, this whole government shutdown mess started because Democrats thought they could hold the American people hostage and get more government goodies, all while trying to please their radical base. They wanted to lock in new Obamacare subsidies, health care for illegal migrants, and jam more spending into a government that's already bleeding like a stuck pig. But Republicans, for once, stood their ground. They said, no, we have the majority, fund the government, then we'll talk policy. And that's when the Democrats went absolutely nuclear, calling it heartless, fascist, extreme, whatever buzzword they were using that week. Now, 40 days later, look who's crawling back to the table. The same Democrats who started the fire in the first place. And what did they gain? From my vantage point, not a damn thing. And to prove just how ridiculous this grandstanding scheme got for the Democrats, even their media pundits on the left, like CNN, got caught in this viral clip calling it the Democratic shutdown.
We've got plenty more on the other side. We will talk much more about this. Again, you're looking live at the Senate floor as the Democratic filibuster has been broken. We have so far reached 60. We're waiting for the official count. But right now, 60 votes that would unlock moving forward with this plan to reopen the government on the Senate side. A quick break, more on the other side.
And while this comes as a major victory for those who rely on government subsidies to survive, especially right before the Thanksgiving and Christmas season, and obviously government workers who deserve their paycheck, there's plenty on the left that are looking at this as nothing more than an absolute betrayal, and they are not holding back their thoughts.
You know, you do something like this, shame on you the first time. You do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, shame on me. Shame on the Democrats for even believing that the Republicans will, even vote on it. There's no guarantee in this New Deal that there's going to be a vote. There's no even commitment to have a vote. So the bottom line is the Democrats went into this after a blue wave out of the American people saying, we do want the opposition. We the working people want the Democratic Party to fight for them. And now they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over. If he cannot keep his caucus together, he needs to go. He needs to be replaced.
Yeah, you can definitely smell blood in the water for old Chuck. It's getting pretty bad. Jeffrey's about the same. I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she's already pretty much said she's not going to run again, which, I mean, she's 170 years old and has more money than God. So I don't feel sorry for her by any means. She'll be just fine. But this is the new Democratic Party. They just want total opposition. They don't care what happens to the American people. They just want you to fight Trump no matter what. The Republicans and Trump are the enemy, and anything they try to push forward, we have to be against it. And speaking of Jeffries, let's hear what old Snagglepuss himself is thinking about all this.
Who?
There are millions of phantom enrollees under the ACA. Is that being looked at as it possibly makes it so that people that are on the ACA are paying more, inflating the numbers?
That's like the most random way to start a question on a serious topic. Nobody who's serious in this country takes Dr. Oz seriously. No one. And I mean, it's shocking that the guy even was confirmed. But this is part of the reality of Republicans here in the House and over in the Senate. They're nothing more than a rubber stamp for Donald Trump's cruelty and extreme agenda. I have no idea what Dr. Oz is talking about, and neither do the American people.
All right,
Yeah, you can just feel that seat getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And they can talk about a blue wave all they want, but you just shut the government down for 40 days. 40 days. You bragged about how every day that the American people suffered, it got better for Democrats. And in the end, you walked away with absolutely nothing but a promise to talk about it later on down the road. So what did you do? Well, one, you succeeded in pissing off the far left even more, because now they think that you won't fight and they have no faith in you and want to primary you. And two, you drove away the moderates because you look like you're willing to do anything to appease the far left, and you walked away with nothing. And it didn't just stop there. There was plenty more media pundits who decided to come out and show exactly who they thought was responsible for this betrayal.
Look, don't let them spin you. The Democrats caved. People have been asking me, what Democrats caved? I want to know. We need to know. Okay, so these are the Democrats who voted to cave to the Republicans. 8 Democratic senators are Dick Durbin, Maggie Hassan, Angus King, Catherine Cortez Masto, Tim Kaine, Jeanne Shaheen, Jackie Rosen, and John Fetterman. They joined the 52 Republicans in this procedural vote to reopen the government without a guaranteed extension of healthcare subsidies. Just a promise to pick it up and maybe vote on it in December. Come on now.
So in other words, here's a metaphorical hit list of who we should be using the full weight of our far left army to call out in primary. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've got problems on the right, no doubt about it. But these people eat each other at an alarming rate. I mean, dear God. And they just keep getting more and more radical. I mean, you look at the ones that were far left 5-10 years ago, they might as well be considered Republicans in their eyes at this point. But that's enough liberal tears for now. Let's move on to the GOP side to see what Speaker Johnson and Secretary Bessent had to say in light of these new developments.
I'm thankful to welcome you to what appears to be the beginning of the end of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, as shameful as that is. I don't think it's coincidental, you know how I think, but it's after 40 days of wandering in the wilderness and making the American people suffer needlessly. Some Senate Democrats finally have stepped forward to end the pain. It appears to us this morning that our long national nightmare is finally coming to an end, and we're grateful for that. At least some Democrats now finally appear ready to do what Republicans and President Trump and millions of hardworking American people have been asking them to do for weeks. As we said from the beginning, the people's government cannot be held hostage to further anyone's political agenda. That was never right. And shutting down the government never produces anything. It never has, if you study history. And so here we are. I want to remind everybody this morning of another critical point that you've heard me here repeat over and over the last several weeks. It's something that I and Leader John Thune and President Trump and every Republican leader have all said repeatedly from the beginning. We have always been open to finding solutions to reduce the oppressive costs of healthcare under the Unaffordable Care Act. We just made clear that we would not and should not ever do that. That is, negotiate as hostages. The Senate is moving forward on an amended House CR, a continuing resolution, that will reopen the government until January 30th. Added to that are provisions to fully fund SNAP provisions through the end of the next fiscal year, which is September 2026, guaranteed back pay for all federal workers who have been made to endure these hardships over the last several weeks. And it also includes passage of 3 appropriations bills, which we're grateful to be moving through the process. That is the Military Construction Veterans Affairs bill, it's the Agriculture bill, and the Legislative Branch bill. The Senate will be back in session this morning to finish their job, and we're certainly praying that they do. They'll need unanimous consent from all senators to fast track their final vote. As you know, there's some procedural hurdles that one or more could throw in the way, but we certainly hope that they won't do that because so many people across this country are desperate for the government to reopen. With regard to the travel challenges, I spoke yesterday at some length with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, my former colleague and good friend, and he lamented the serious situation that we have with air travel in the U.S. He's bent over backwards, as all members of the administration and the cabinet have done in all of their areas of jurisdiction, to try to keep the government working for the people and to mitigate the pain and the harm. But the problem we have with air travel is that our air traffic controllers are overworked and unpaid, and many of them have called in sick. That's a very stressful job, and even more stressful exponentially when they're having trouble providing for their families. And so air travel has been grinding to a halt in many places. And as of Sunday, nearly half of all domestic flights and U.S. flights were either canceled or delayed. And it's a very serious situation. So I'm saying that by way of reminder. I'm stating the obvious to all my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats in the House. You need to begin right now returning to the Hill. We have to do this as quickly as possible. I want to close with something that's important. I think it's important to say that this is genuine. I mean this sincerely. We applaud the 7 Senate Democrats and 1 independent senator who did the right thing. They decided to put principle over their personal politics. And my urgent plea of all my colleagues in the House, and that means every Democrat in the House, is to think carefully, pray, and finally do the right thing and help us to bring an end to the pain of the American people. This has gone on too long. Too many people have suffered, and it's long overdue.
Yes, this needs to end. Life needs to go back to normal. People need to eat. People need to get paid. Flights need to run. We're entering the holiday season. So, yes, this is a good thing. It's insane that it's gone on this long. And I applaud those that actually came across the aisle and said enough's enough. So, to those Democrats and that independent, thank you. Seriously, thank you.
All right, look what we just ran into. You never know who you're going to see at the White House, but this is Secretary Scott Bessent, who has been absolutely unstoppable on the issue of the shutdown. The vote is going to be maybe Wednesday in the House. How important is it to get this thing
Well, things are starting to really roll. We know about the travel, but I tell you, commerce, the air freight was starting to get hit. And what I didn't want to scare people with was the food inspectors had stopped coming in. We were going to start having food problems. So we got to get this open and rolling. So we didn't want to play that panic card, but we could have had food shortages.
What Democrats have learned a lesson, and what should all Democrats learn from that?
Don't hold the American people hostage. Don't hold the American people hostage, because look, we always knew we were going to get here, and why did it take so long?
And January 30th, we're going to be in the same situation again?
I hope not. We're being held hostage by Chuck Schumer's poll numbers, and I don't know if you saw it. Hakeem Jeffries is going to be primaried from the left, and I didn't know there was any room over there.
Well, hey, thanks for spending some time with us.
Good to see
All
you.
right, good to see you. See you next time.
And so where things stand right now, this very well could be a good thing. Let's get everybody back in, let's vote, and let's get the government back open. My only caveat to that would be, just as Secretary Bessent was just asked, what happens on January 30th? Are we right back in the same boat? And if we are, what do we do then? Well, I guess we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But if we do get to that bridge, I think we need to take some serious consideration into nuking the filibuster. The Democrats have already said they're willing to do it if they get back into power. And at that point, there will be nothing the Republicans can do. And if that does happen, all that will do is give more time to grandstanding and less time to actually pushing through legislation that would benefit the American people, all coming right on the heels of next year's midterm elections. So bottom line, is this a good thing? Absolutely. But let this be a lesson to both Democrats and Republicans that if this happens again, the nuclear option must be on the table. Well, that's all for this one. If you guys like what you saw, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Again, this is a new channel, so that would definitely help me out. And I will see you guys on the next one.